Well, I want to welcome everybody and thank you for getting up on a rainy morning and coming to the Okmulgee Library for the Okmulgee County Convention. This is a great opportunity. I'm telling you guys what, I feel so positive as a Democrat right now. Our Republican colleagues, MAGA particularly, are on the precipice of failing, and they continue to drive this failing message on a daily basis to the point where I believe that we're going to be reaping the reward of that failure very quickly. So as a Democrat, let's talk about what I'm running for. I'm running for Oklahoma Democratic Party State Chair. If you guys were here earlier, I had a great story that I talked about asking Stacy to be the vice chair. We would run on the same ticket with each other, what we call a slate. And that was, it was done by design. Stacy and I have worked together before, and we worked so well together that moving forward, we want to replace the current chair that is there, who basically runs it single-handedly. We want to run it as a team. We really feel like with our qualifications, I've got a master's degree in leadership, I got a bachelor's degree in leadership. Stacy has a bachelor's and a master's. Her master's is an MBA. Her qualifications as a two-time chair of Logan County plus vice chair one term puts us uniquely qualified to be actually the best candidates for this position. And then you put into consideration the other factors. Number one, we just talked about it. Am I a union member? Absolutely. I'm a union member and I'm a union supporter. But beyond that, I worked for 43 years as a working class person. I worked 24 hours, I was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I know what it's like to work weekends, holidays, be away from my family for extended periods of time with mud on my boots. That is what I did for a living, and that's who I am. That is fundamentally who I want to represent. And I feel like the trust of the Democratic Party in the state of Oklahoma has been damaged because of our current leadership. We have ignored rural Oklahoma, whether that's on purpose or by accident. That has got to change. We are seeing a decline in the number of people who are registered voters as Democrats in the state of Oklahoma. So 6 years ago, when our current chair took office, we had nearly 900,000 people that were registered voters in the state of Oklahoma. Today, we've got just over 600,000. That decline is dramatic. And then you take into consideration of those 600,000 people, only 120,000 participate in our election process. There is a distinct disconnect between our current leadership and the people in the rural part of Oklahoma. There are three bastions that really kind of stand up the Democratic Party: Tulsa, Oklahoma County, and Cleveland County, Norman. Those are the three leading places, but I'm telling you this, the other rural parts of Oklahoma have to be stood up. And that's our plan. We really have a very comprehensive plan to put in place. And we are going to attack this full on, head on. Number one, who here is tired of having the Republicans define who you are as a Democrat?
Right. Right.
We are going to start defining who we are as Democrats, and we're going to start publishing that in the newspapers, in the radio stations, and on the television. I have been trained in news media. That has been part of my training when I worked for the railroad. I worked in public safety for several years. But throughout all of my time working for the railroad, I paid union dues that entire time. And I've been on both sides of the union table. I have had to hold union members responsible, but I did that with responsibility. I made sure that their rights as a union member was never compromised. We upheld the contract, even if it was discipline. We upheld that. The state ODP, we are going to be in deep trouble. If you guys haven't seen it, you need to pay attention to what's going on within the ODP, because there is an NLRB complaint and a lawsuit from a current employee who was dismissed, and the process was not followed, And now we are in deep trouble with our, we're spending like $36,000 on legal fees. We've got an NLRB filing a complaint with a list of charges against us for not upholding our contract. Those are things that I look at and I say this is absolutely unconscionable. This should never have happened. I'm not arguing whether the person should or should not have been dismissed. That's not part of my argument. I'm not party to that incident whatsoever. But I'm telling you the consequence of not following the contract is bringing us to where we are right now. We have got to change that atmosphere. We will uphold our contract with me as the leader of the Democratic Party and with Stacy helping. We will uphold that contract. We will make sure that people have that ability to participate in their own union, as well as we will uphold the contract and we will live up to the contract of those people. The other thing that I want to talk about is where do we want to go forward? As a state chair, I have a 77 county plan. And this 77 county plan came after a meeting I had a couple of years ago when we were first met at the Tulsa convention when I met Ken Martin. Ken Martin is now the chair of the DNC. He was just elected February 1st. In that participation in Tulsa, that conversation that I had with him, I asked him, why are you surrendering Oklahoma to the Republican Party?
Right.
Why are you doing this? He said, we're here. I'm here. And he and I had a discussion about that. And then a few months later, I actually had another conversation with him on the podcast that I did. It was called Coffee with Democrats. I'm a proud founder of that podcast. And I had him come on and I talked to him about surrendering Oklahoma to the Republican Party. And he said, you know what, Kevin, I think you're right, but we're going to change that. I didn't realize what that was going to extend to. But I started having people, I started speaking up in January of this year about the deficiencies that I saw within the ODP and the failures of what happened in this last election. I saw that after the election, our ODP completely stopped functioning clear through until January. They just didn't do anything, just like it shut down. And I was very alarmed about that. And I said, we have got to change what's going on. So I started asking people about what needs to be taking place within the ODP, how we can change and make the ODP more effective. So I've spent a lot of time talking to people all over the state of Oklahoma. Next thing I know, I'm getting people calling me from all corners of Oklahoma saying, Kevin, would you please run as state chair? We need somebody with your voice, somebody with your attitude, somebody with your convictions to move on and reach out to the rural working class people of this state. You know, the blue collar workers like myself who have spent so many times in the trenches and actually reaching out to those people and getting them involved. That 480,000 people that I'm talking about that did not participate in the last election, those people that we've lost their trust. Our reputation is damaged in this state really severely. What can we do to change that? And people started calling me up and saying, Kevin, we need your voice. We need somebody with your attitude, somebody with your convictions, somebody with your abilities and training to be able to lead the Democratic Party out of where we are right now, what I call the political wasteland, and bring us back into the political arena where we can actually compete with the Republican Party. We've got to grow the Democratic Party. That is the first and foremost thing that I want to start doing. I guess first and foremost, we got to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. Second to that is we've got to make sure that we can grow the party. Before we start putting candidates in every single seat, which is an aspirational goal, we want to do that. That's part of our goal. We want to make sure we do that. But beyond that, we want to go further down. We've got to get more precinct leaders. We've got to get more people signed back up. We've got to build the trust of the people that are not participating and get them back involved in the Democratic Party. And that 480,000 people is the place to start. And the way to get those people back, in my opinion, get them back involved is meet them at their doorstep. Come out to rural Oklahoma. Go to the county square. Go to the city council meetings, or excuse me, the city building, and have rallies at those places with Democrats so that people know that Democrats are still here and we are functioning and working together. And we are wanting to build a better, united Democratic Party than what we have right now. That is our goal. And so we built a 7-point plan. And I'm going to let Stacy talk about this, but I want her to introduce herself too, because she has got an exceptional background that I am so proud of. And I can't tell you guys enough how proud I am to be standing with her side by side, working with her, because we will be a pair. You are getting a 2-for-1. 2 highly qualified, 2 highly educated people that have the ability and have the qualifications to run the state party. So Stacy, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. As you mentioned, my name is Stacy Hayes. I live in Guthrie, which is Logan County, just north of Oklahoma County. I live in CD3. CD3 is a predominantly rural congressional district. And unfortunately, we have a lot of county parties that are not organized out that way. So our platform, we believe that if you've got an issue, we feel that it'll roll into this platform somewhere. I think it's very thoughtful. So the first thing I want to talk about is party infrastructure development. And this goes into increasing our general membership and getting our county party stood back up. As a county party chair, I have experienced issues with just basic training. We have training available. We just need to make sure that the curriculum is available and our county chairs are able to access that. And as you were talking about as the County Chair Association, we had one that was statewide for a while because we have very good ideas coming out of the counties, but we need to stop operating as 77 individual counties and come together and share those ideas because there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Our second thing on here is electing Democrats. So we want to get our friends at the State House and Senate some friends. Right now we only have 20 in the House and we only have 8 in the Senate. In order for us to make any measurable progress, we have to get Democrats into those locations. And as he was talking about, yes, it is a goal to have someone in every race, but we also want to look at targeted races that we can win. These special sessions ones are very good races to get into because they just are, just the way the voter turnout is. But once we get those folks that are interested in running, we want to make sure that they have the materials where they're able to run correctly. So we don't want to say, we don't want them to come to the ODP and say, hey, I want to run, and then we just tell them, well, go get a campaign manager and raise some money. We want to give them
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
We want to give them a step. We want to partner with organizations that are already out there. So in Oklahoma City area, which I think, does Sally List work everywhere?
I think it works out the entire state.
Yeah, Sally's List. So we have organizations like Sally's List or Run for Something. So while we're getting our bones stood back up in ODP, let's use our partner organizations that already have that information out there for folks to do. So getting Democrats back in there. Communication and outreach. Right now, we do not have a communication strategy. That is something that is a problem throughout Big D, DNC, and Oklahoma. So what we want to do is establish a war room. And what this does is it's going to combat the disinformation. So that's kind of the carrot and the stick. So they say something, we say something back. But what's more important is that we want to have a messaging calendar where we're talking about the things that are important to people at the kitchen table. And we are taking, I want you to tell me what you're talking about at your kitchen table, because Kevin and I cannot speak for everyone. So we're out actively looking for, what are you concerned about? People are telling us education. They're telling us the federal job loss. They're telling us DOGE federally and in Oklahoma, cuts to USAID where it's negatively impacting farmers. Those are the type of messaging strategies that we want to lead with to make people understand that you are being negatively affected by what's going on. So that's in our communication and outreach that we want to do. Next is reestablishing our reputation as the party of the working class. We fully support unions. We fully support workers' rights, labor rights, fair wages. Kevin's been in a union. I have not, but let me tell you, my mother is from San Francisco. And I can tell you the story of the San Francisco longshoreman who had a union and somebody crossed the picket line And I've been scared to death to cross the picket line since I
Right.
was 5 years old.
Right.
Let me tell you, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. So, yeah, and we just want to make sure that, we are not out to give billionaires tax cuts. We want to make sure that we are not making it harder in any way, shape, or form for people who are already busy, tied up, just trying to make it day to day. The next thing we want to talk about is empowering our federations and associations for social justice. We want to refocus the ODP on protecting our democracy and building the party. And we have federations right now. We have, I can't name them all off, but we have the African American, the LGBTQ, Native American, disability, all the veterans federations. We want to make sure that we are giving them the floor to speak for those issues, because we cannot speak for all of those issues. So what giving them the floor means is whatever's coming out of there, what message do you need amplified? What policy do we need to be trying to work with our legislators to do? Just to make sure that they're at the front lines and able to get their message out. Next would be collaboration with Democratic elected officials. So this would be developing a strong working relationship with our Senate and our House Democrats.
Thank you, Barbara. It's a pleasure to meet you. Yes.
So say when Nathan gets up there, what we're seeing now is once they get to 23rd and Lincoln, we kind of lose them. And there's no talking back between the party and the elected officials. So we've been in talks with a lot of them, and we just want to make sure that, our policies are lined up, whatever their policy initiative is, that make sure that we're amplify that message. And in particular, the bills that they are running, because we know that the way it's set up right now, a lot of their bills are not even getting out of committee.
Right.
So we've got good legislation that we are trying to do to support our working class, everybody. We're trying to support people, but the Republicans there are not even letting it get to the floor to be heard. So a goal of mine is to have kind of a swarm effect. So say Representative or Senator Kirk has a bill coming through. We amplify that bill, and when it goes out, we all call our individual representative to make sure that we're watching you. Just let them know we are watching you, to let you know that, and that it should be coming through. And then when it doesn't, we blow it up in the message. I mean, can you imagine him being on the camera saying that we're trying to, go against food safety for kids or education problems? Yeah, let's just do that. We're going to amplify that message. And then the last one, and the most important one, I think for all of us, is to have a permanent campaign with a specific focus on rural and grassroots. Like I said, I'm from CD3. I live in Logan County, and there has always been the rural-urban divide within the Democratic Party. Urban does not know how to communicate the issues to the rural. Rural doesn't see it as see the issues the same in the urban areas. And we have to talk to rural people to understand what those are. I try to explain to people, I live in a small town where Democrats, they're undercover. They're scared to put their flag, their blue flag up, because it's a social stigma for them. I mean, our kids go to school together. We go to church together. We see each other at the grocery store. So if we start all of this infighting, out in public, it's a social issue for folks. So we want to make sure that, we're doing the town square events just to let others know, because during the presidential campaign we saw that there are a lot of blue dots in the Facebook groups, and they're like, I had no idea there were other blue dots. Yeah, we got a whole list of them here. So put your finger up, say hello. And then as far as distancing the party from the DC establishment and consultants, there's not a lot of messages that are coming out of Washington that fly with Oklahoma. And we need to acknowledge that. We're not going to agree on everything, but we need to make a place for everybody to be heard and to be seen. And then for the grassroots approach, like Kevin said, just meeting them on their doorsteps. We're coming back together, we're getting together, we're meeting for meetings, we're having social gatherings, just to have that additional touch point so that we can hear each other's concerns.
And the last thing that she was talking about there, when we're not campaigning for candidates, we got to campaign for the party.
That's true.
That is the number one thing. We got to campaign for the Democratic Party and let people know that the Democratic Party is out here and we're functioning and we're not going away. And the questions are going to be asked, well, Kevin, how are you going to do this? Well, I have a personal pledge. Gentlemen and ladies, you guys have all done this in your life. Your word is your bond, right?
Yeah.
My word is my bond as well. This is what I live and die by. I give you my pledge that I will not take a penny of the stipend that is raised from the funds for the state chair. I will take every single penny of that and I will put it into targeted advertising to help grow the party. That is the number one thing that I want to do with our party is I want to change how we are doing our business. Now, I have to clarify. I want to make sure that I don't say this incorrectly. I'm glad that our current state chair is getting a stipend. She's one of only 10 that do have a stipend, and I want the person who comes in behind me to be able to do that same thing. I won't do that because I think we're in such a critical mess right now in the state of Oklahoma. We're going to have to use every single penny that is raised at every level. We're going to have to use every single penny to raise the party and build the party. Because right now our reputation is as bad as it's ever going to be. And that's why I am so excited to be a Democrat in the state of Oklahoma, because we are going to see a rebound. We are going to see improvement. We're going to see people coming to the Democratic Party who are leaving MAGA, who are leaving the Republican Party, who are independents, who are disenfranchised because they say, all right, I have no voice, I have no representation. I want to make sure that I have somebody that I can belong to, a place I can belong to. And I'm telling everybody, if you want to fight back against MAGA, if you want to fight back against the Republican Party, if you want to fight back against Donald Trump and that crazy lunatic that's out there with him that was never elected, Elon Musk, come to the Democratic Party because we will fight with you and we'll fight in the ground. Dirt Road Democrat, that's exactly who we are. We're going to be in the dirt. We're going to be out here working the dirt, making sure that the state of Oklahoma is a place where we are valued.
And one thing to add on that is our promise to you is when we say we're going to all 77 counties, we mean it.
Right.
In my line of work, in his line of work, we don't have the option to not do what we say.
Right.
And we're publishing our platform so that the folks can hold us accountable to it and say, hey, you said you were going to do this, when's it going to happen? But we call this our roadmap to success. So it's going to happen. We just don't have any other option.
So we are running for state chair and vice chair, and we are asking for your vote as delegates. That's why we're here.